Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Bihari Jai Mahatma Mansa Paribhajagacharya Stakare Smada Piritam Saraswati Goswami Bhagavati Jai Kanta Kori Vaishnava Ki Jai Ramacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Nain Sutta Hosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivacharya Gaur Bhakti Jai Sri Radha Krishna Bhogavnath Sam Khand Radha Khand Giri Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Dwarka Dham Ki Jai Swami Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai All glory to the All glory to the Thank you very much.
Nadia Gojumani Tananda Mahajan Nadia Gojumani Tananda Mahajan Hatya Chinam Hate Jibera Karan Hatya Chinam Hate Jibera Karan Shradhavan Jana Hai Shradhavan Jana Hai Shradhavan Jana Hai Shradhavan Jana Hai Prabhu Aagai Bhai Mag Agaye Bai Magiye Bika Bolo Krishna Bhajo Krishna Koro Krishna Shika Bolo Krishna Bhajo Krishna Koro Krishna Shika Aparara Shunna Hoy Loho Krishna Naam Aparara Shunna Hoy Loho Krishna Naam Krishna Mato Krishna Pito Krishna Dana Pran Krishna Mato Krishna Pito Krishna Dana Pran Krishna Samsara Koro Chariyana Cham Krishna Samsara Koro Chariyana Cham Divedoya Krishna Nam Sarva Dharma Divedoya Krishna Nam Sarva Dharma Shradhavan Jana Hai Shradhavan Jana Hai Shradhavan Jana Hai Shradhavan Jana Hai Nadiya Gojum Nityananda Mahajan Nadiya Gojum Nityananda Mahajan Katya Chenam Hate Jibera Karan Katya Chenam Hate Jibera Karan Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Sri Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Dev, and all glories to assembled Vaishnavi devotees. We thank you all for being here today. As usual, today is Monday, the beginning of a new week. There's been a little bit of confusion about the timing. So our revered scheduled speaker will be here, but she's going to be a little late. So we're going to begin by reading the text and probably the purport while we wait for our revered speaker, Her Grace, Mother VRAJALILA. Because in the US, we do this time adjustments. So she thought it was still 11 o'clock our time, which is now changed to 10 o'clock. So that is the reason. I'll do this. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashtaprayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. So reading from Sri Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, text number 13. Kshirodadab Amaradhanava Yuthapanam Unmatnatam Amrita Lapaya Adidevaha Prishte Nakachapava Purvidadara Gotram Nidrakshanodre Parivartakshak Kashana Kanduhu Kshirodadab Amaradhanava Yuthapanam Unmatnatam Amrita Lapaya Adidevaha Prishtina Kachapava Purvidadara Gotram Nidrakshano Parivarta Kashano Kanduhu Shirodadav Amaradhanava Yuthapanam Unmatandam Amrita Laptaya Adidevaha Prishtina Kachapava Purvidadara Gotram Nidrakshano Parivarta Kashana Kanduhu. Word for word translations. Kshira, milk. Udadao, in the ocean of. Amara, the demigods. Danava, the demons. Yuthapanam, of the leaders of both hosts. Unmatnatam, while churning. Amrita, nectar. Labdaya, for gaining. Adidevaha, the primeval Lord. Prishtena, by the backbone. Kachapa, tortoise. Vapuhu, body. Vidadara, assumed. Gotram, the Mandra hill. Nidrakshana, while partly sleeping. Adi Parivarta, rolling the hill. Kashana, scratching. Kanduhu, itching. Translation and purport by Jagadguru Paramguru A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The primeval Lord then assumed the tortoise incarnation in order to serve as a resting place, pivot, for the Mandara Mountain, which was acting as a churning rod. The demigods and demons were churning the ocean of milk with the Mandara Mountain in order to extract nectar. The mountain moved back and forth, scratching the back of Lord Tortoise, who, while partially sleeping, was experiencing an itching sensation. Purport. Although it is not in our experience, there is a milk ocean within this universe. Even the modern scientist accepts that there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of planets hovering over our heads. And each of them has different kinds of climatic condition. Srimad Bhagavatam gives much information which may not tally with our present experience. But as far as Indian sages are concerned, knowledge is received from the Vedic literatures, and the authorities accept without any hesitation that we should look through the pages of authentic books of knowledge, Shastra, Chakshu, Vat. So we cannot deny the existence of the ocean of milk as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam unless and until we have experimentally seen all the planets hovering in space. Since such an experiment is not possible, naturally we have to accept the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam as it is, because it is so accepted by spiritual leaders like Sridhar Swami, Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti, and others. The Vedic process is to follow in the footsteps of great authorities, and that is the only process for knowing that which is beyond our imagination. The Primeval Lord, being all-powerful, can do whatever he likes, and therefore his assuming the incarnation of a tortoise or a fish for serving a particular purpose is not at all astonishing. Therefore, we should not have any hesitation whatsoever in accepting the statements of the authentic scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam. The gigantic work of churning the milk, the gigantic work of churning the milk ocean by the combined effort of the demigods and the demons required a gigantic resting ground pivot for the gigantic Mandara Hill. Thus, to help attempt of the demigods, the Primeval Lord assumed the incarnation of a gigantic tortoise swimming in the ocean of milk. At the same time, the mountain scratched his backbone as he was partially sleeping, and thus relieved his itching sensation. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mother Raj.
Hari Bol Prabhus, Hare Krishna. Obeisance to all of you. Thank you so much. I sincerely apologize. I really thought it was 11 o'clock. Yeah. You know, we have a program in West Africa, and we don't change the time because time doesn't change in Africa, right? It doesn't change. Yeah. So we just keep the same time. So, so I got confused. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm grateful and happy to be here. I thank you so much. Haribol. Right. So you read the translation and purport?
Yes.
Okay.
But you may read the translation just to acquaint yourself and our listeners.
Okay. I'll just say a prayer. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastai Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pastatyade Shatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastai Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shitatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasvari Shri Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripasindubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. So we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, text number 13. And you already chanted the verse, Saha, right? So, okay, so I'll just read the translation. The primeval Lord then assumed the tortoise incarnation in order to serve as a resting place, pivot, for the Mandara mountain, which was acting as a churning rod. The demigods and demons were churning the ocean of milk with the Mandara mountain in order to extract nectar. the mountain moved back and forth, scratching the back of the tortoise while partially sleeping was experiencing an itching sensation. Hold on 1 second, Peru. Let me just get something real quick. Uh, okay, sorry. I had some notes and I just had to look at it real quick. Um, you read the purport, yes, Sahadev, Prabhu?
Yes, I did read the purport.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and share from what I had read. There's several points that Srila Prabhupada is bringing to our attention in this verse, and one of them is the authority or authenticity of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada wants us to acknowledge how the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam. And so Srila Prabhupada himself has given us several different ways to glorify and understand Bhagavatam. In this verse, he mentions Bhagavatam a few times, I think 2 or 3 times, if I remember correctly. And he explains about the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada speaks of a few points in here that are important for us to kind of just maybe remind ourselves, because this verse was actually spoken before in the same canto. In Canto 2, I believe text number 1 is pretty much the same verse. And so now this verse is coming up again. And so I was looking at, well, what is the difference between how Prabhupada was mentioning it, the verse originally in 271 and how he's mentioning it now. And in this verse now, he's referencing Srimad Bhagavatam and the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam. And so Bhagavatam, of course, is the authority for everyone on the planet, even for the demigods. Bhagavatam is the authority to understand Krishna and Krishna's pastimes. And Prabhupada gives us 28 different ways of how we can understand Srimad Bhagavatam. Saha, go ahead. You want to say something?
No.
You sure?
No.
Okay. Okay. So Saha, if you pull up that verse for me, please. I believe it's 271. So I could just look at that verse and see Prabhupada was mentioning Bhagavatam in that verse also. Thank you, dear devotees, for being here.
271.
Yeah, 27. We're in 2713 now, right?
Yes.
So I think it's 271.
Okay.
I think that might be it, or it's either 71 or 72.
Okay, we have 271 on the board, on the screen.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to just see the verse. Brahmavacha. Okay, can you scroll down a little? Lord Brahma said, okay, yeah. Brahma said, when the unlimitedly powerful Lord assumed the form of a boar as a pastime. Okay, he assumed the form of a boar. Okay, so it might be the next one. Let's see. Okay, sorry, Prabhu, that's all right. You can just leave it. Yeah, perhaps yeah. So that was a different incarnation then, the form of a boar. And in this one, he's Matsya. So he's in the form of a tortoise. And in order to understand this pastime, Prabhupada wanted us to understand first, how do we get to internalize this pastime within our hearts? And in order to do that, we need to take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. We need to hear from that authority. Otherwise, it can sound very mythical, right? The Lord Krishna, God, firstly, he's Narayan. Somebody might ask, well, is Krishna Narayan? Yes, Krishna is Narayan. However, Narayan has a different role. He plays a certain role in Krishna's activities as Krishna, and performing those activities. He incarnates he's Lord Vishnu. He incarnates in different forms, and this is one of the incarnations is this form of the tortoise in order to teach us some lessons. And in this case, he was primarily teaching the demigods and the asuras, the demigods and the demons. And he was teaching them many lessons at the same time. However, sometimes people could say, well, how could God, have a form of a turtle, right? Turtles. How could he have that form? Well, Krishna can have any form that he wants because he's God. So God, he unlimited, he's independent, his activities are not dependent on any other situation. And so he can, in the mood of protecting his devotees, he can take any form that he may want to take. And so he takes this form of this turtle, this tortoise. And Prabhupada then says, however, in order to really understand this, it's important for us to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. And so I'm just going to share a few things that Prabhupada says in terms of Srimad Bhagavatam. And firstly, he says that Bhagavatam is the authority. It's the authority for everyone. And I said that before. He also explains that Bhagavatam is the supreme Vedic literature. So in the first canto of Bhagavatam, he explains the meaning of the Vedanta Sutra is present in Srimad Bhagavatam. So he also explains that the full meaning of Mahabharata is present in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The full meaning of Bhagavad Gita is present in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the supreme Purana, and it was compiled by the Lord himself, the personality of Godhead, in his incarnation as Vyasadeva. So this is Krishna, the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, taking many different types of incarnations just in order to educate the souls that have fallen from the spiritual world. And then Prabhupada gives the example, and we've heard all these examples before, that Bhagavatam is the spotless literature, right? Spotless. When something is spotless, it means that there's no marks, no deviation, no changes. So he explains this, that Bhagavatam is the spotless literature. And he explains that it means that Bhagavatam because Bhagavatam is spotless, it's the most ancient Purana. It's the most ancient history. It gives us the most ancient history of the world. And this is from a lecture that he gave in in Boston, actually. Yeah, I remember, in Boston. And this was on the second canto. He was lecturing. And so in the second canto of Bhagavatam, Prabhupada constantly referenced back how to understand what's being spoken about in the second canto, the importance of understanding Srimad Bhagavatam, how important Bhagavatam is for all of us, all of Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, Srimad Bhagavatam is a gift. Prabhupada speaks this in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. He says, whoever makes a gift of this great work on a full moon day will get the highest perfection of life and go back to Godhead. So I think we're in full moon right now. So if anybody would like to go back to Godhead, you can offer Srimad Bhagavatam to someone. This is authorized in the scriptures. That's how we can, how much Prabhupada was validating Srimad Bhagavatam, that this is the perfect gift to give someone. He also speaks about Parikshit Maharaj and how he was such a serious student of Bhagavatam. So he explains that in order for us to understand these pastimes, we also must become serious students. We must study Srimad Bhagavatam. not just read it and hear it, which are both really important. However, to really dive deeply into Bhagavatam, really study the Bhagavatam. And then he says that Bhagavatam is also ever fresh. Nothing about Bhagavatam ever gets old. It doesn't get stale. It's not like reading a regular book and then, we're finished with it. We don't think of reading it again. Bhagavatam, we're reading over and over and over. I heard someone ask recently, I think I was doing a class in Bhakti Center. And the speaker there was asking, because now they're on the 10th canto in Bhakti Center. And the speaker was asking, I was listening to that class. And the speaker was asking the devotees, you are now at the 10th canto. Does that mean you've gone through all of the different cantos? And the devotee from the Bhakti Center said, yes, we've read through from first canto to 10th canto. And now we will, of course, start again with first canto. And so this is how we read Bhagavatam over and over and over again. It's ever fresh. It's never like we can get satiated and think, oh, I already read Canto 1. No, every time we read Canto 1, it will teach us something new and something different. Because Krishna's words is just, it's not limited to our time and place to give us realizations. Okay, such a nice literature, Prabhupada says. This is also very important at Srimad Bhagavatam. Each word we'll find enlivening, and each word, Prabhupada says, is a nice literature. So he was explaining this to a psychiatrist in Stockholm, Sweden, about why to read Bhagavatam, because it's ever fresh. And it's for all the life, Prabhupada says. Maharaj Parikshit was given 7 days. He was only given 7 days to live. He was cursed by that Brahmana boy. The boy told him, you're going to die in 7 days, bitten by a snake. However, for 7 days, he tried to understand what was his relationship with Krishna, Maharaj Parikshit, for those 7 days. So Prabhupada says that Bhagavatam is good for our whole life, whether it's 7 days or whether it's 70, 80, 90 years. That Bhagavatam is actually the book for us, for those that are practitioners of bhakti, that we will get the highest benefit, the highest reward from hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, from studying Srimad Bhagavatam, from reading Srimad Bhagavatam. He says Maharaj Parikshit, it was only for 7 days. That was his life, 7 days. But in those 7 days, he heard Bhagavatam. And then one last point that Prabhupada made, he made so many points about this Bhagavatam, and I only kind of wrote a few of them. That's the notes that I wanted to write, was just how important Bhagavatam is in order to understand these pastimes. Because as we said, these pastimes, when we hear them, they sound pretty far out. We're going to hear about an ocean of milk. We hear about a turtle. I mean, they don't, most people will be like, what are you talking about? Well, yeah, the only way we can understand these pastimes really is if we study Bhagavatam. If we've really studied the Srimad Bhagavatam, that we can't just read the pastime and understand the pastime. We can't just read the pastime and understand fully what Krishna is doing in those pastimes. It's important to read Bhagavatam consistently. So Prabhupada says it's an immense treasure house. This Bhagavatam is an immense treasure house. And he explained this is these 18 Puranas, there's 18 Puranas. And in these Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 18,000 verses. So in these 18,000 verses of Bhagavatam, each verse awakens the soul. Each verse will awaken our soul to really remembering and understanding who we are. And this is what Krishna tells Arjuna, that he's the source of all remembrance and all forgetfulness. And Krishna is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna is not different from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So when we read or hear or listen to Bhagavatam, we will directly be nourishing our souls, and our souls will directly be opening up to being able to remember these pastimes of the Lord, which we've heard many, many, many times before. So I wanted to initially bring that point because when we read this verse, it's kind of, I think this part of Bhagavatam is an encapsulation of different pastimes. And each one of these pastimes can be a little bit like mind-boggling. Every one of them that we may read, the different incarnations of the Lord. So what was the last incarnation we read, Sahaprabhu? Before this one?
The last incarnation we read was, I think, Rishabhadev.
Rishabdev. Okay, well, that's not as far out as, yeah. King Rishabdev is not as far out as when he takes on, the form of like a fish or a boar, Hiranyaksha, when he takes on, these different forms. They can, for someone that's never heard this before, they can become a little bit questioning and maybe sometimes even a little doubtful, which is normal because they do sound very mythical. However, as we said, if we study Bhagavatam, it won't be so mythical because the Lord will open our hearts to understanding these pastimes. Another point that Prabhupada made in this pastime that I found really important, Kavi Karnapura is here, thank you so much, is he made the point about, in order to understand this pastime, he made the point about hearing from authorities. Said we must hear from authorities. And so, of course, Srimad Bhagavatam is the ultimate authority. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Bos. Thank you for being here. However, he also explains that hearing from authorities means hearing from parampara, hearing from the disciplic succession. The knowledge must be passed down. And it's not because there are many different reciters of Srimad Bhagavatam. If we go to India, and we spend some time there, we will be able to somehow get in contact or hear about many different kinds of personalities that recite the Srimad Bhagavatam, sometimes for days, sometimes even for a month. And many of these people, they have huge followers that are eager to hear the Bhagavatam. And unless those persons are bona fide, Prabhupada says, unless they're in disciplic succession, there is a challenge that they may not be hearing Bhagavatam very purely, or they may not be hearing Bhagavatam as is authorized to hear. So Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna based his arguments not on his own personal experience, but on what he had heard from the authorities. It wasn't that Arjuna was just, going to fight and didn't want to fight. He listened to the authorities, which mainly was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's how Arjuna received real knowledge. That's how he was able to, at the end of Bhagavatam, 1866, Sarvadharma Parityajya Mami Kamsaranam Praja. At that point, Arjuna was able to then realize, okay, I just got to make a decision. Now I've heard this knowledge. And so hearing from authority is really important, because when we hear the scriptures, we often have questions and we have doubts, and sometimes we're even confused. And so if we're not hearing from the right source, as Arjuna, then we won't be receiving, as Prabhupada said, real knowledge. In the first verse of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna based many of his arguments not on his own personal experience, not because he knew what was going to happen, or he was, as we know, Arjuna was bewildered. He was confused about what to do, but on what he heard, how he heard from the authorities, how he heard about even Krishna citing other authorities in Bhagavad Gita. that was the way that he actually received the knowledge. That's how he was able to hear. And Prabhupada gives us again so many different personalities in the Bhagavatam, that the way they received knowledge was simply through hearing. For example, in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Devahuti, we know that she heard about Kardama Muni. Like, she heard about her husband from the authorities, authorities like Narada Muni. And so this was the way that she could understand what kind of personality that he was, Kardama Muni. And so throughout Bhagavatam, we'll find every canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll find some reference about the importance of hearing from authorities, hearing the Bhagavatam from authorities. So those 2 points I thought was really important for us to even begin to dive into this pastime, because as I said, the pastimes oftentimes maybe, beyond, at least maybe beyond my understanding. And so my acceptance of these pastimes is based on the fact that I have heard the pastime from authorities. It's been passed down through disciplic succession. And I have heard about the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. And so because of that, now I'm able to try to digest what this pastime is saying. So now let's get into the pastime, because this is a very sweet and wonderful pastime. This pastime teaches us so many things. There's so many lessons. And for those of you that have, been around, you've heard this pastime for so many, many times. And each time I'm sure that you hear the pastime, there might be something else that we can get out of it. However, some points that I've been able to get out of this pastime, this time when I heard it, is about the turtle, the Lord, assuming this form of a tortoise, that he was slow and steady. Actually, it's explained that he was a little bit even asleep as they were churning this ocean. He was somewhat asleep. And we read in this pastime that Mandara Mountain, which he was lifting with the help of the snake, Suguki, can't quite remember his name right now. Anyway, he was churning the ocean, churning the mountain. And what happened was the demons. So the whole story is a demon and demigod story, which is like what's happening in our world today. We have people that are theists, that are atheists, and theists, and then we have people that are atheists. We have people that are divine in consciousness. They understand that there's supremacy. And then there are people that don't accept. There are people that may be atheistic in nature. There are people that might be creating more havoc on the planet. And this has always been in existence. It's nothing new. So this is a pastime that's helping us to know, to not take the things that are going on so seriously on the earth planet right now, even though it's quite devastating. However, to know that this has been going on. And as these things go on, Krishna, and in this case, in the form of Kurma, the turtle, the tortoise, he gives his word. He tells us in Bhagavad Gita that his purpose for coming to the planet is to protect his devotees. And the devas, the demigods, are his devotees. And so he took that form in order to protect them. So when the Earth planet was falling, he agreed that he would take this form in order to lift the Earth planet out of the ocean, out of the water. And in doing that, the demons were initially in doing this. It's always interesting to talk about this pastime. But anyway, initially, in order to lift up this mountain, the demons wanted to be at the head of Please remember, let me recall who this snake is. Somebody, some scholar on here. Let me remind me who this snake name is, because I'm not remembering his name right now, and it's right here. Varaha Prabhu.
Vasuki.
Yes.
Asuki.
Vasuki. Yes, yes, yes. I know it's a Suki something. I always remember, oh, he's a Suki. But anyway, Vasuki. So there's many devotees on this call that knows this pastime. It's a pastime we've been hearing since we joined and became a devotee. But each time, this is what Srimad Bhagavatam explains, that each time this pastime becomes fresh, it becomes more and more fresh because Bhagavatam is ever fresh. And so if I remember the pastime correctly, the demons, they wanted to hold the head of the snake, and the demigods with Krishna's advice, they took the tail of the snake, and somehow in this churning, the instruction from the Supreme Lord was that whatever comes out of this churning, which many things came out of the churning, don't become distracted by the churning. Just focus on what we're here to focus on, which was for them to get that nectar of immortality. And so that was the whole purpose. That was the end game of what they were doing. The end game was for them, the demigods, to get this nectar and to not in any way get distracted. So similarly, when we look at this pastime, the end game for us as devotees is to become pure devotees of the Lord. Is to really become free from the material distractions that are in this world in so many, many, many different ways, and to keep that focus on what our end goal is. And we are also been instructed by the Supreme Lord, by the mercy of Krishna, through his representatives, through the parampara system, which is why Prabhupada emphasized the importance of the parampara and hearing from the parampara. So by us hearing through the parampara system, we also understand, yes, there will be so many distractions, just like all of the things that came out of the ocean. However, if we keep that focus, and that was the focus that Krishna wanted, Kurma wanted the devotees to have, the demigods to have, which there was a little incident where I believe the mountain fell back again into the water, and Krishna had to somehow speak to the demigods. And anyway, there's a lot of different nuances to this pastime, and I can't remember all of it. However, this second canto gives us a little bit of a synopsis of the pastime. And if you read in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, I believe it's chapters 5 and 6, the entire pastimes is described there in terms of what happened, the details of what happened with the demigods and the demons. In the end of this pastime, Krishna had to take another form. He had to take a form of a woman, Mohini Murti. And this Mohini Murti was able to trick the demons so that the demigods could be victorious. So the whole story is based around Krishna's devotees always become victorious, even though they may have to go through many different types of challenges. So the demons, they had lost the war initially because of a curse. And so they had to, fight. They fought with the demigods, fought with the demons. And in the beginning, the demigods had lost. And then because due to the mercy of Bali Maharaj, he somehow engaged the demons and the demigods. He made some arrangement for them again to fight, or to somehow or other come together and realize that it's not by fighting, it's not by them. No one was winning, or the demigods lost, but then the demons, the demigods lost in the beginning. Then the demons were like, okay, we're great, we're victorious, da 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 da, as demons will be. However, because the demigods had Krishna on their side, then Krishna instructed them what to do. So they went to Bali. And so then Bali says, no, no, no. Okay. Somehow or other, they asked Bali how to do. Krishna told them what to do. And then they decided that they would form a truce. And that's why that's why Krishna intervened to churn the ocean of milk. Now, what Prabhupada, the emphasis that Prabhupada has on this pastime is not as much on the churning of the ocean, on the ocean, as it is in this particular text, as it is to validate that there is an ocean of milk. And these are some of the points that Srila Prabhupada is making, which is different in this verse than in telling the story of what happened. Prabhupada is focusing on helping us to acknowledge Srimad Bhagavatam, acknowledge authority, acknowledge that there is an ocean of milk. Because, when we read these pastimes, it's like, what do you mean there's an ocean of milk? And sometimes, for those that have been practicing devotees, there's not a question of whether there's an ocean of milk or not, because we understand, with the devotees. So we're learning through the scriptures that Krishna can do whatever he wants to do. And that just like there's ocean of salt water, why wouldn't there be any other types of oceans in different planetary systems? We're sure there's many different kinds of oceans. And so here Prabhupada wants to validate that. And there's a conversation Srila Prabhupada had with a couple of his devotees that were discussing this. Because when devotees, even those that initially came to Srila Prabhupada and they were reading Bhagavatam, as I said, some of the stuff was very way out to them, to many of them. And Srila Prabhupada had to take the time to explain to them through knowledge, through understanding the Srimad Bhagavatam, to help them to understand, and to develop some faith and to develop some trust that these things are actually real. So this is a conversation that Prabhupada is having with one of his devotees. This devotee says their experience of sea is that it has salt water. And Prabhupada then he says, no, this is water. As water is also liquid, milk is also liquid. So if there is an ocean of water, why not an ocean of milk? And Prabhupada is asking that question. And then Brahmananda is saying to Prabhupada, he says about this, he's asking this question. He says, you cannot sink in it. You can't sink in this water, I think. And then Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he's saying, yeah, it's not possible to drown. If you go into water there, immediately you come up to the surface. And then Prabhupada says, oh, he's trying to understand what the devotees are talking about. Like, what are you saying? And he says, ocean of milk, ocean of liquor, ocean of oil, ocean of yogurt. There's all of these different types of oceans. And so it's not, they were speaking about the oceans that we know that's on this planet and whether you can drown in it or not drown in it. And Prabhupada just cut the whole conversation and he just went on to explain there are all these different types of oceans. And so then in the next conversation, Prabhupada says, if some horses can fly in the sky, what your imagination will check it? How will what can you check by your imagination? And then Rameshwar, who was one of the initiating guru, when I became a devotee, that was back in 1979, he was the initiating guru in California, in Los Angeles, California. So Rameshwar, then he said, but they say that the planet is so heavy and so big, it is not possible for a mortal. And the Prabhupada said, that's all right. The planet is. How it is that it's floating in the air. And then Rameshwar said that the scientists, they have no explanation for that, how these planets are floating in the air. And Prabhupada says, no, you do not know the explanation. So he tells Sister Rameshwar, you don't know. Scientists don't know. He says there's so many other things. And then he goes back again into talking. Just like they say there's no ocean of milk. He says, however, ocean of liquor, ocean of oil, and then Tamal Krishnamara says, yeah, it's like mythology. And then Rameshwar says, it's imagination. These are all like the early days of how devotees would, communicate with Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada says, but why? Your imagination, you have not gone throughout the whole universe. You cannot say you are imperfect. And so he's really emphasizing this point about, the fact that we can't deny that these things are real, because firstly, he gives this example. You haven't traveled throughout the whole universe. So how do you know what's in one universe as opposed to another universe? And then he says to him, and on top of that, you are imperfect. You're not perfect. So how could you, say that there is not an ocean of milk? Or how can you even, doubt? Or how can you question? The fact is that there's so many things that we don't know because we're imperfect by nature. We're subject to making mistakes. And so the scientists also are not perfect. They're also subject to making mistakes. So in the purport, Prabhupada referenced the scientists, that they don't understand that how this ocean of milk is possible. They're still trying to figure out, how the universes are being held up in the sky. So these are some of the references that Prabhupada thought was important to help the devotees. And then Prabhupada says, when another devotee is kind of questioning Prabhupada says, no, you do not know the explanation. There are so many other things. And then again, he goes into this big, long explanation to these devotees about how to understand that there is an ocean of milk. Now, for us, how do we understand that there's an ocean of milk? Well, is it because Prabhupada said it, just because he said it? Well, that's one way of understanding, because Prabhupada is in the line of the cyclic succession. He's in the parampara, and he's giving us the Vedic knowledge or knowledge from the Bhagavatam, as he has heard it from his spiritual master, and as his spiritual master has heard it from his spiritual master. And so these things in Bhagavatam that sometimes can be a little bit bewildering for some people, they can be understood, again, if we go back to hearing from authority, and if we actually take shelter of the truths that are in the Srimad Bhagavatam, if we actually believe that Bhagavatam is the authority, it's the authorized scripture for the world, if we actually accept that. And of course, devotees that are practicing bhakti, they do accept that. And this is why we accept that there is an ocean of milk. And then, of course, the Lord appearing as a turtle, that's another point of contention for some people. How is it that that's possible? Well, how can God, again, how can God become a turtle? Well, again, Bhagavad Gita explains that to us, that Krishna is the source of all incarnations. He's the source of everything. Krishna is the seed-given father of everything that's in existence. And so therefore, anything that's on this planet is coming from the Lord. And the Lord can manifest in any way he wants, or in anything that he wants. And so Krishna, that was the form that could best hold that mountain in order to churn the mountain, in order to protect his devotees. So again, I'm going to go back to what are some points that I learned from this time go around, as I was thinking about it. Of course, I just came back from 3 days of traveling, 3 or 4 days of traveling. And so I was like, just got back last night and trying to prepare for this verse this morning, and then missed the time. But still, I was able to get a few points that I'm sure, hopefully, all of us could relate to. So this point of the turtle being Krishna, being slow and steady, as he was churning that ocean, right? He's churning the ocean. with Vasuki, and he's he's a little bit asleep, and the ocean is massaging his back, and he's just being slow. He's just, okay, this is a service. And I remember, this is a real story of mine. After my spiritual master, my revered spiritual master, left the planet, his name is Bhaktitirtha Swami. I remember getting isolated for some time, for some years. and I remember not really kind of wanting to be around so many people. And at the beginning, I was of course, me and my husband, we were in Mayapur, me and Ekavirapagu, and we were caring for the Samadhi there with His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. We had taken our spiritual master's ashes there. And it was like a really difficult period. And I remember at a point, people would two things became very prominent. These two words became very prominent for me during that period. People would ask me, how are you doing? And at one point, I started just saying, I'm grateful. And I'm grateful. And that somehow people would stop asking me about that. But the other thing that I remembered so clearly was I would say to people sometimes, well, I'm like a turtle. I just kind of pull inside. And so this is the mood of like a turtle. You're just like, you're slow, you're kind of present, but not so present, kind of internal. And so this was the mood. This is like the mood of that I'm understanding of Kurma, that he's doing the service, of course, to protect the demigods, and at the same time he's being in the mood of a turtle, which a turtle is not so fast. So in some ways, the way how I understand this today is that yesterday's gone, and at the same time, tomorrow, we don't really have tomorrow. I mean, we don't know. We don't know. We know, like, we have today, and yesterday's gone. So we can only take today and make the best that we can out of today. Make this an important day. And yeah, so if we can meditate on this today, like every day is an eternal day. Today's an eternal day. So as the mind pulls us to the past of what was, or to the future of what we can be, our daily practice of focusing on Krishna consciousness, on being Krishna conscious as much as we can, brings us to now, right now. And if we are able to do that steadily every day, each day we take that day as, okay, this is the best I can do today to be as Krishna conscious as I can possibly be, with the patience and determination of a slow and steady turtle, slow and steady. Then as our external life moves along its path, as we do the things that we do, then we will be experiencing this ultimate expression of love. Because if each day we take that day as our offering to Krishna as best as we can, and we're not rushing for tomorrow, and we're not, in victimhood from the past, then that will be our expression of love for the Lord for that day. Another point that is clear about this pastime is that, turtles, they withdraw. So when it gets too much, which it does as we are living in this material world, just withdraw, just, take time with ourselves. And that was the experience I had when my spiritual master left, was I withdrew. And at the time, I was feeling some guilt that I was withdrawing. However, that was the best thing that could have possibly happened, because we do need to withdraw. And we learned this from the turtle. The turtle is very expert, at just withdrawing from everything and from everyone. So the turtle, as it pulls its limbs when there's danger, that when there's some danger, then if we pull ourselves back into some quiet place, then we won't get so overwhelmed. Right now, what we're facing in the world is quite scary, to be honest, for many people. And sometimes it can become scary even in our devoted community, because, yeah, there's so much demarcation, that's going on just in general, in the world. People are taking so many different sides for so many different things, and that has seeped even into our devoted community. I remember when there was so much talk about the virus, and there was so much discussion around who was to take the shot or not take the shot, the COVID shot. So many people, it created so much disturbance, even in our own communities. There was so much disturbance, and devotees were committing offenses right and left with each other because some people took the side of getting the shot, some people took the side of not getting the shot. And so these kinds of conflicts, they're constantly coming up in different ways. And sometimes as devotees, we might just need to withdraw from every side, from whatever is going on, and just become internal, like a turtle. So turtles are, they're very expert in helping us to learn the science of becoming internal within ourselves. Even this practice of everyday just retreating to a place that's just, very, very sacred, very precious, where that might even be just a place where even when we're in the turmoil, whether we're at work or whether, we're in some argument or whether it's some heavy discussion, just to retreat internally to that very sacred space that Krishna has created within ourselves, where Krishna says, that's the only place where we can really find peace, is to become aware of the Lord within the heart. And for us to withdraw and just go back into where we belong, we can kind of get calm and cool from all these external things that have no real meaning, because they're so very temporary, as we all know, and they will pass, right? They will all pass. So this mood of withdrawing is like being able to treat ourselves, to really treat ourselves, to nourish ourselves, to care for ourselves, to really know that we can move beyond the noise, because there's lots of noise, and we can choose to be a part of the noise, or we can choose not to be a part of the noise. We can choose whether we just want to be disruptive and always be in chaos, or we can choose what Krishna has offered us. And by studying this pastime teaches us about how the turtle, the tortoise, how Krishna, he was just, just taking that form and confidently just churning and watching everything happen, and knowing that, looking at his devotees and wanting to protect his devotees, but knowing his devotees and these demons are going to be going through what they're going through. So also the turtle carry us home. The turtle, right, can carry us home. I remember the very first time I went to India, I didn't know any different. And the first place I was taken to when I went to India was Radhakund. I remember that so clearly. And there was a devotee that was introducing us to the Radhakund. And he didn't really properly explain anything about Radhakund. He just said, we're taking you to Radhakund. And, and I had some idea of the sacredness of Radhakund, but there was one detail I did not know. And that detail was, you just don't jump into the Radhakund. You just don't jump in and swim. It's because it's very sacred. You take 3 drops of water and you honor and you pray. And for me, when I saw the Radhakund, it was so beautiful. I was just so mesmerized by this big, huge, body of water. And because I grew up with the water, and I grew up as somebody that just jumped in the water and swim, I just jumped into the Radhakund. And as I jumped into the Radhakund and I dived in, because I'm born it my whole life, most of my life anyway, before coming to America, I was brought up near the sea, near the ocean. And so it was natural for me to just jump in and dive. First, I remember when I dived, because I knew how to dive, the first living entity I saw was this very huge crocodile. I'm sorry, very huge turtle, huge turtle, huge turtle, huge. And I was so shocked. And so I immediately came back up at the top of the water. And then when I got up, then the devotee was standing there, saying, "You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that." And I'm like, "Oh, I wish you had told me that earlier. But you just jumped." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry. The water. I just got attracted to the water, not having any real understanding, right?" So what I learned later about the turtles in Radhakund is that they're sages, they're saintly personalities. So these saintly personalities, they can carry us, right? So even I didn't stay long enough to really have any connection, but I'm guessing that they're there to take care of, to protect, the devotees, to protect the devotees there in Radhakund. So, and even if somebody, let's say, was to leave their bodies in the Radhakund, they would go home, right? They would go back to the spiritual world. So a turtle carries us home on their backs. And the thing is, if we can kind of welcome Krishna into our heart space, welcome Krishna in our hearts, if we can somehow or other just always remember that Krishna is caring for us in whichever form that he comes in. And if we can somehow or other find it a little bit easy, to, especially now during these times, to be open, to be generous, to be forgiving, to let go, to do these things from the heart, then Krishna will certainly carry us on his back. Krishna will carry us back home. So the turtle reminds us about that. Just like the mountain was giving the Lord so much pleasure, churning as Krishna is churning, and the Lord's back is itching, the Lord's half asleep. The mountain is just like reciprocating with the Lord by scratching the Lord's back, because, as Prabhupada explained, the Lord was itching a little bit. And the other thing about a turtle, the last thing about a turtle, and this was shared with me from a devotee in Mumbai, from Chopati Temple, that the turtle is leanable. Leanable mean that the turtle, you can, lean one way or another. Turtle is constantly moving back and forth. And then the story of Bhagavatam, the story that we're reading now in Bhagavatam about Kurma, that the back provided the support needed to hold up the mountain. And that back of Kurma is to be strong for all of us, for so many people. So when we think of Kurma, we think of the strength of the back of the turtle. And we think of the Lord, with that strength for all of us to protect and care for everyone. And that we are those persons that can lean on that back of the Lord. We can lean on this hard back because the Lord is made himself available for us to lean on in so many different ways. Just to be able to think about Krishna in these ways, just to be able to meditate on the Lord in these different incarnations and how that is applicable in our own life. So the turtle having these different kinds of qualities. When we think of a turtle now, we can think of how this turtle is protecting the devotees and serving the devotees, and each part of that turtle plays an important role in the service to the Lord. And so every one of Krishna's incarnation, every incarnation of the Lord, has some qualities that are very applicable for us in our lives as we move on, just struggling with material energy. For those that are struggling with material energy, not everybody struggles with material energy, because many of the devotees have learned that verse, Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. They know that they offer everything to Krishna. They know that Krishna is leanable. They know that Krishna, can help us to withdraw. They know all of these things, and they practice these things. There are many devotees like that. But for those that might still be learning, those of us that might still be learning how to do that, the turtle is an example to help us to remember the Lord in that form as, having these qualities that can teach us of different aspects of Krishna. So I want to close there and just remind myself and remind everyone that yes, there is an ocean of milk. Yes, the Lord can come as a turtle. Yes, Srimad Bhagavatam is authority to validate what we're saying. And yes, we do have the authorities of the Parampara. Many have experienced some of these pastimes and have come back so that they can share these pastimes with us. And of course, because of all of these things, we are all most grateful. So very grateful. So I thank you so much, Sahadev Prabhu. So sorry for my lateness, and also for whatever else. Pray that I haven't made any offenses.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mother VRAJALILA Devi, for such wonderful and beautiful delivery of Krishna Katha. So at this point, if any devotee may have question, comment, realizations they would want to share, please, you may do so by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to speak. Hare Krishna. Mother, I would want you to throw a little bit more light on this theme of this quality of tortoise withdrawing into its shell. I'm asking this because some of us may have different reading and understanding to what you meant, because I could consider it to be okay if my god brother, god sister is saying or doing something I do not like, then I withdraw into my own quells and I'll have nothing to do with this particular person anymore, any longer. But I don't think that is appropriate. So if you may shed a little bit more light on what you meant by devotee withdrawing. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you, Saha. Yes, specifically, I was mentioning withdrawing to connect with Krishna, specifically for that. I mean, if we're distracted or disturbed by a devotee, what they said or did, the best way to withdraw is to withdraw internally with Krishna. Like, for example, not too long ago, I had a situation like that where someone said something that was very uncomfortable. And I had a choice. I could either react, I could even respond in a very calm way, or I could just go inside and just chant for some time until I get my bearings together before I did any of those, whether I responded, whether I reacted, or by the time you finish chanting, you don't react anymore, but you might still want to respond. But at least we could choose our words, after we withdraw. So the withdrawing that I was referencing was to withdraw not with animosity and resentment and grudges and hate, but to withdraw to Krishna, to go to the Lord and ask the Lord, please help me in this situation. I would like to say, something that could nourish both souls, the person that's disturbing, and my soul. So help me to do that. Sometimes we may need to withdraw and chant or read. Sometimes that's what I do. I just open Bhagavatam. And that's, for me, can be very, very calming, when I finish whatever that, even if it's reading for a minute, it would put me in a different space where I could deal with whatever. The reacting is the challenge. You see, when a devotee reacts, it means that that devotee doesn't really have self-control. You know, they don't have, and they haven't taken the time. They don't have the patience with themselves to be able to think something through and how it will impact everyone. It will impact that devotee. If I say something, if I personally say something in reaction, it could be an offense if I'm not careful. So I have to be very thoughtful, very mindful of what I say, how I say. And best way to do that is to withdraw with Krishna, withdraw to Krishna. That's my understanding. Because, you know, another ways to look at this is in terms of life. Life can become very stressful with all the things going on in the world. So before life gets too stressful, you know, better to treat ourselves with self-respect and just withdraw into, whether that's just withdrawing, you know, at a space in our home, or withdrawing in terms of just maybe not being so available externally, whatever it might be, on a daily basis. You know, yes, we do need to withdraw in taking shelter of the Lord. And we do need to withdraw, even if we're not conscious that we want to take shelter of the Lord. We need to learn that science of withdrawing when things are distractions. Just take a moment. Take a moment, because Krishna is silence. Krishna is quiet. Krishna says like that. And somehow or other we can get a different perspective sometimes. But, you know, and if we can't do any of those things, and if we're motivated by the mode of passion and we react, then acknowledge ourselves for that, and acknowledge that we're in the growing process, and move on. Don't get all caught up in it and get, you know, make ourselves bad people. It's like, okay, I'm in the mode of passion. I did something, it wasn't the best, but I get another chance, and that's okay. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the clarification. Shri Mother Ishopanishad, please, you may unmute.
Show. I was
Hare
just with
Krishna.
Ishopanishad.
Jai Haribol devotees, Hare Krishna. Look, Farouk, I have something I want to share as well before I ask this wonderful question. I had an employee here that was working, and he just happened to hear you say Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, this is a young man. He's about 31 years old. He's not here anymore. That's why I can share this with you. So he said, who is that talking? Because I was listening to the lecture, right? And I said, oh, wow, I get to preach. Yay. Anyway, I was able to explain to him a little bit about, you know, what the Srimad Bhagavatam is. And thank you so much, VRAJALILA Mataji, for sharing that wonderful message about how great and how wonderful Srimad Bhagavatam is. Just hearing it. And in that particular case with the young man, he just heard the sound, Srimad Bhagavatam. That just made him want to inquire about it. So I wanted to say thank you for that. And the other thing is that, wow, your analogy of the tortoise. I love that. Krishna is silence. I love when you said about just having self-respect is to withdraw and not be so available. That's wonderful. And just learn the science of withdrawal. Thank you so very much for those words of wisdom. Hari Bol, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare
His Holiness
Krishna.
Bhaktivedanta Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, and all the assembled Vaishnavas.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mother Ishopanishad. So we go to Kusha Prabhu. Please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Mother.
Kusha, I want to say something, Kusha Prabhu. You have had so many beautiful backdrops that I've seen over the maybe couple years or so. However, the one that you have of your spiritual master is the most beautiful.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Especially blowing the conch shell.
I want to ask a question.
This reminds me of my home. My home. Yeah, but the one that you have now, that reminds me of my home, how I grew up.
Yes. I want to ask, Krishna appearing as Kuma or animal form
Could that be the reason he said we shouldn't be eating these animals? Because he doesn't want us to eat him when it comes to an animal.
Sounds like it makes sense to me. Let's see where let's see where that's in scripture. Okay, first, what animal are you talking about? Which animal are you talking about? Which one? Which animal did Krishna come as?
Now. People eat horse, people eat tortoise, people eat fish, people eat pig. All of them, people eat them. Could that be the reason why they say we shouldn't eat animals? Because we are going to eat God himself, and there will be no more God.
Well, Purma was a special incarnation, and that was God. Now we have many turtles, like at Purma Setra, that place where Purma actually there's a path where he performed this pastime. There are many turtles there, and I can't say all of those turtles are Krishna, because they're not all incarnations of Krishna in the sense of Purma. Purma was a direct incarnation of Vishnu. However, it does make sense what you're saying to not eat animals because the Lord does appear, even if those animals we eat are not necessarily Krishna, they represent somehow Krishna's incarnation. Yeah, so thank you, Prabhu. That's a nice preaching point. Did you know that God also come as a turtle? You sure you want to eat a turtle?
Turtles, people use it for some mystical work also.
Yes. People take their shells and do all kinds of things to make money. All kinds. I've seen that. So many turtle back they make beautiful things from the back of a turtle. Now I'm sure that they had to kill that turtle in some cases to use the back of the turtle. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Thank you. I haven't seen you so long. I miss you so much. Oh, look at that picture. Show that picture again.
I'm good.
Yes. Yeah, your spiritual master has given you the key to understanding all of these lessons from Bhagavatam. So Prabhu, this is your blessing in this life. So be proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Mother. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Solnes Kavichandra Maharaj ki jai.
Mother, I have one other quick question, and that is this ocean of milk. The ocean of milk, as we understand, the Srimad Bhagavatam, is very, very, very distant away from the Earth planet. And the scientists today, and even yesterday, know about this ocean of milk, which they call the Milky Way. I am wondering, how did the scientists come to know about this Milky Way, which is the ocean of milk, when it is very, very far away from us, but in between us, the Earth planet, and this ocean of milk, are so many other planets that these scientists do not know about, but they get to know about this ocean of milk. I don't know whether it's just copy and paste information they pick from the Bhagavatam and claim that they have discovered it, or they truly have discovered it. I don't know if you have any insight in this.
I see Kavi Kanapur and Harichak right here, and I'm going to turn it over to them. However, I do want to share something from Srimad Bhagavatam that you said you don't know whether they copy and paste. Well, Srimad Bhagavatam is available for everyone, and I know that there are scientists that do study Srimad Bhagavatam. Just this past week, actually, at the Institute for Vedic Studies, I believe that's the name of it, there was a scientific seminar for the whole weekend at this place that here Nanana Maharaj has developed. And these were scientists that were coming from different places, and devotee scientists are also there with them. The reason I know is because there's a devotee that lives here in Vitanagari that's a scientist. He went there to be in that seminar. And I was asking him, what are you going to talk about at the seminar? And so he was going to explain Darwinian's theory from a devotee point of view. So devotees are doing things like this with scientists all the time. So it's very possible that scientists are getting information, knowledge, like, and then copying and paste. But like you said, in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, this ocean of milk it's lying on this white land called Swetadweep. And this is all in the first canto. So anybody that reads Srimad Bhagavatam can have this information, and this ocean of milk and Swetadweep planets, they're replica of Vaikuntha Loka. So if somebody can learn about Vaikuntha Loka, they can learn about the ocean of milk, they can learn about Swetadweep, where the ocean of milk lies. And so there's anyone that comes in contact with Bhagavatam. Now, if they come in contact with Bhagavatam just to read it like literature, they will get, as you said, copy and paste. If they come in contact with Bhagavatam from a devotee and they learn things from a scientific point of view, they may be making some spiritual advancement. So that's some points I just wanted to make. Kavi Prabhu, go ahead. Kavi Karnapur.
Yeah, thank you. Kavi Karnapur, Prabhu, please remain mute.
Yes, thank you very much, ma. I really appreciate the question Sadi Prabhu was asking and the way you answered. So I was just confirming what I was thinking in my mind when you talk about withdrawing, because I remember some time when there's some heated argument, and I really felt maybe the devotee used the word that kind of pierced my heart, and I just hold a minute. If I try to say reply with the same energy, it's going to bring so much negative energy. I say, okay, calm down. Okay, think about how to put it so that this person will not feel hurt. Then at the end of the day, we can, come together and realize that, okay, we're just trying to exchange understanding. Calm down. And it helps a lot, my mother. It helps a lot. Then after some time, that anger goes away and you start finding yourself again. Then you start trying to use a very nice diplomatic words that will not make the other person feel bad and not. So what you are saying actually is very powerful, and I can testify to this. Time to time when there's some heated argument, it just come like that. I want to react, and there's something that say, calm down, breathe in, out. Okay, no, why do you want to hurt him again? Why do you want to hurt him back? Just calm down. Think about how to do it in a way that it will not become hurt. So thank you very much, ma. Just let me share this realization. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, as you shared, I was just thinking of how we are all a part of this domination culture. This domination culture teaches us that we are not to let anybody get away with saying anything that we might think from our perspective is not respectful. The domination culture tells us that we're supposed to like a snake, not like a Vasuki, but the kind of snake that just like pounce back. We got to pounce back. And if we don't pounce back, that means we're like weak or we're like a sissy. But really, that's not true. That's just a part of the illusion within the illusion, because that does not really work. Because what works is Krishna's love. That's what works. That's the real weapon. And unfortunately, the domination culture don't want us to do that. They don't want us to learn how to do that. So that's why, Bhagavatam is so very important. So very important. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma. Thank you very much, ma. I'm very grateful to hear this. So reconfirming what I'm thinking in my mind. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. His Grace Hari Chakra Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Mata. Thank you very much for your class. And
Adivo.
Yeah, my question is in in relation to the questions Adi Prabhu asked and the answer you gave. We've been hearing over and over again how devotees we are supposed to take a humble position And then especially when there is a conflict, or when you think another devotee is doing something that is not right. So what I realize is that even in our regular life, in this regular world, especially in countries where they practice democracy and all that, many of governmental institutions keep going down simply because of the attitude of how people's attitude towards the nation's property. Like somebody is in a government institution, something is going wrong, and he said, "Well, as long as I'm being paid, I don't care what happens." So they will not address it. So in this way, gradually we lose, and I can see that also in devotee association also. Sometimes something is going really wrong, and everybody is thinking, "Oh, I have to just chant my rounds. I should think about the way to make progress in my spiritual life." And everybody keeps a blind eye to it. By the time we realize, the whole thing has escalated. And now it comes to a level that everybody is involved.
Yes.
So what do we do? Because there is a story about, what do we call it? The eye, the nose, the ear, the mouth. They were living together, and the mouth started talking nonsense. The mouth started talking nonsense to this huge guy. And the ear was saying that, please, we should advise the mouth to stop, because what he is doing, it can get us into trouble. The nose was saying, "No, I don't care. I'm different from the mouth. Where the mouth is different from where I am." The eye was saying, "I don't care." So the mouth kept saying, insulting the person. Finally, the person was so mad, the person gave the face a big slap. And that slap, it affected the nose, it affected the eye, it affected the ear. So the ear was saying, "I told you guys, I told you, we should caution the mouth." So similarly, if we are in a devotee association and we say, see a devotee doing something really wrong, and we say, "Oh, let's withdraw into our shell and chant our rounds and try to cool down." And by the time we realize, if things are getting out of hand, then what happens? So are we really have to keep quiet?
Yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful question. I love that analogy. That is such a beautiful analogy. Prabhu, Harichakra Prabhu, we're not saying that people are to be in the mode of ignorance. Either way, right? If the mouth speaks too much, the mouth can be speaking in the mode of ignorance. If the mouth doesn't speak at all, that can also be the mode of ignorance. So what we're saying is use the mouth wisely. Not that the mouth doesn't speak, but the mouth speaks what is called palatable truths. It's not that you don't speak truth, but you speak it palatably in a way where you can make a connection with a person as opposed to pushing a person away. It's just like Prabhupada tells the story, or devotees tell the story in New York, of one devotee that was eating meat and cooking meat in the temple and was advising the temple devotees to eat the meat. And I believe a few of them were doing it. And then Prabhupada, one devotee went and complained to Srila Prabhupada. Brahmananda tells the story. And I've heard the story in New York because I grew up in the New York temple. And they told Prabhupada, this devotee, he was a leader in that temple. And Prabhupada says, why you didn't say something about it? Why did you just stay so quiet, where you allowed this person to engage in sinful activities and you didn't speak anything? So silence doesn't mean just not speaking. Silence means speaking the truth, but speaking it in a palatable way. So these devotees, they understood silence to be just not saying anything, as you're saying, and then just let something escalate to the point where many devotees got affected until somebody finally went to Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada checked the situation. So when we use the word silence, you know, there's two ways that we can look at silence. We can look at silence as something horribly wrong is going on and we don't say anything. We don't do anything. That's a form of silence, but that's a form of silence in ignorance. We're saying silence is all about understanding Krishna is the source of silence. Krishna is silence. And so when we're silent, we speak on behalf of the Lord. However, we speak in a way that would please the Lord. It doesn't please the Lord when we speak and we create even more chaos, more havoc, and we create offenses. That's not pleasing. So that's why we withdraw in order to really check ourselves to see. Now I'm going to use the mouth. Okay, beautiful. Use the mouth in a way that our intention is really to connect with the person, not to push the person away, not to prove a point, not to be motivated to be the knower, because only Krishna can own that. Only Krishna is the all-knower of anything and everything. Not to make ourselves right. Guru Maharaj, spiritual master, said, you can be right and be doing the wrong thing. So it's work to understand more about ourselves. And usually when we speak, you know, in ways that create more harm, or when we speak in a way that discourages others, or when we speak in ways that doesn't create synergy in our relationships with each other, that's because we have some stuff within ourselves that we got to look at. We got some stuff within ourselves we got to work on, and maybe we're not doing that work. So, you know, the thing is, that's the reason to withdraw. Withdraw means to take more time to get feedback from others, to really respect others enough to say, Prabhu, with a straw in my teeth, what can I work on to have better relationships? What is it that you think I can do differently? This is how Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj trained us. He told us, he says, you go to your god brother, your god sister, and you ask them, what can I work on? How can I be a better servant? What can I do differently? We'll be amazed at what people tell us if we're open for that. Yeah. So I hope I clarified silence. Silence is to bring Krishna in the picture.
I totally understand.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Mother Vraj, I have a question from the purport. And if you don't mind, I'll put it on the screen.
Okay, Prabhu.
So Prabhupada was saying in the purport that, so we cannot deny the existence of the ocean of milk as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, unless and until we have experimentally seen all the planets hovering in space. Since such an experiment is not possible, naturally we have to accept the statement of the Srimad Bhagavatam as it is, because it is so accepted by spiritual leaders like Sri Swami, Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti, and others. The Vedic process is to follow in the footsteps of great authorities, and that is the only process for knowing that which is beyond our imagination. I put this up, and my thinking about what Srila Prabhupada is saying is that Srila Prabhupada is speaking to encourage us to have unflinching faith in the scriptures. But that does not also mean that he himself and the previous acharyas, like the few he mentioned, Sri Swami Maharaj, Jiva Goswami, do not have real experience of what the scriptures are saying. So, even though Srila Prabhupada is speaking this way, it is also expected of us to have faith in the scriptures. And by having such faith in the scriptures, fortunately, or with time, we may come to realize and experience what we are believing in the scriptures. Am I right in thinking this way?
Absolutely. If we have faith in the scriptures, one day we'll be together talking like this just with Krishna directly. Krishna will be right there, say, you're back. Well, welcome. So nice to see you. Tulsa Devi will say, this is the service that I got for you. Yes, absolutely. All of us, everyone will have the experience. We can have that experience sooner than we might want. We could go to that, live near Soitadweep, take another body. That's very possible also, because even though Soitadweep is considered to be a spiritual place, it's still not Goloka. So, I mean, yeah, everything is possible. That's what's so beautiful about Srimad Bhagavatam. Nothing is mythology. Nothing. Even this material world it's an illusion, but it's also created by Krishna, which is so funny, right? He creates this place just so we could experience the real place. That's the whole purpose. So yes, absolutely, Sahab. That's what we're all hankering for, isn't it? That's why we can't waste time with getting into all these little nonsense stuff that just distracts us. Yeah, just unnecessary distractions. Yeah, thank you so much.
I just checked it out. The previous incarnation to what was discussed today was the fish incarnation, Matsya.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I initially, what did I say? I said Rishabhadev. That
You said
is
Rishabhadev.
quite a long time ago. That was the topic His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj discussed, which is like about 4 or 5 texts earlier.
Okay. Matsya. Yeah. Yeah, you tell somebody God came as a fish. I'm like, okay, Hare Krishna. Which is why we prefaced everything with the Srimad Bhagavatam and also with the Parampara. Yeah.
Well, anyone else with something to share, please? Mother Jadrani is in the house and she has a couple of comments made in the chat room. She wouldn't mind, I'll read one of them. It says, Hare Krishna, Mata, thank you so much for such an insightful class. I remember you mentioning to me last week about a Krishna pastime involving a turtle. Kind of cool how you were able to go more into depth in this Srimad Bhagavatam class. I feel like I'm at a season in my life where I need to withdraw to connect with Krishna. I enter into my shell. Thank you for everything you've said around this topic. I took it to heart and needed to hear it. Hari Hari. So this is from Mother
Jadarani. Thank you for your kind encouragement, my little sister. Thank you. Actually, you know, when I think of the turtle being leanable, I think of you, Jadarani. You're one of those personalities that's so leanable. You know, I can lean on you. And I know that always. I can always call Jadarani and say, Jadarani, if I need something or anything, whether it's physical, emotional, social, whatever, spiritual, she will be there. Another person that is a lean on person here on this, all of you are, every one of you are. But in my experience, somebody that does that with me a lot is Loka. And I'll tell a real quick story. I was away for a few days and Loka, she knows I like certain kinds of prasad. And it was Thanksgiving. So she made this prasad for me and I wasn't here. She left it in the car for me and my husband in one car that we have here. And I came back from traveling and that prasad was, of course, it's cold here now in America, so it's good. And I tell you, it's just, I've eaten that prasad already 3 times and I only came back last night. So, you know, I've already had it 3 times. So she and Sahadev, they're both leanable people. You can depend on them. You know, like they're going to be there. I can lean on you. And we need devotees like that are leanable. We can lean on them. So the turtle is like that. The turtle, you can hang out on the back of a turtle for a long time. A big enough turtle. That turtle will support us. That turtle will give us some shelter. So this is Krishna, ultimately. Ultimately, this is Krishna. And Krishna wants us. Thank you, Atma. This is very true. Yes. We want to be leanable for others, but most importantly, we want to be leanable for ourselves. Because we can't be that for others if we don't practice it with ourselves.
Hare
Srimad
Krishna.
Varaha.
Yes,
Yay.
Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Dandava Pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
My humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Gurudev. Thank you very much for the wonderful kata. There are 2 points I want to make, just to buttress some of the things that have been said already, but it could also help us more about withdrawing or about the mouth, saying things, without consideration. So we have to look at Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, text 15. If we can put them up, 15 and 16. 15, Anudvega Parambakia, very instructive text. Bhagavad Gita 17, 15, and then 16. So can we have that up, please, so that devotees can hear what Bhagavad Gita says about how to address or how to speak. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful and pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others. And also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. So we have to take note of those words there: truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others. And then text 16 says, and satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. So I think those verses can help us to, put those instructions into focus. Okay, then the second point, which I'd been meditating on since since last time we heard about Matsya incarnation. So the Prabhu, Manidhara Prabhu, and he was saying again and again, how do you convince somebody that God is fish? And then I think again today, Kusha Prabhu also asked a question a bit similar. So I was just thinking, but because we may have different ways of explaining this to people, but from my own perspective, from my own point of view, I found it a bit simple and easy to explain. Because the first question is we have to ask, where does the fish come from? Where does the fish come from? Krishna says, I am the seed-giving father. So the father of fish is also fish. That's simple, isn't it? if the father of the fish is also fish. So it's very simple to understand. Where does the pig come from? Pig come from God. So why is it difficult that the father of pig is also pig? Then the pig father comes down, or the fish father comes down. We all come from God. They all believe that. So why is it difficult to understand that the original fish is the one that has come, or is the original pig that has come? So anyway, because sometimes when we seem to make certain assertions of the scriptures, like it's out of the world, but sometimes it's simple for the simple and it's complex for the complex. Krishna already said that he's the seed-giving father. So if God comes in the form of fish, then it's the father of the fish, the original fish that has come. It's a simple thing to understand, isn't it? Simple. Anyway, thank you. Those are my contributions. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Varaha Prabhu. Thank you so very much. Thank you for sharing. I think Atma also has something to share. That was very profound about Varaha Prabhu. Saha, I think Atma has a message.
Yeah, let me see. Okay. No, I think she is just expressing her appreciation. That is very, very true.
Okay, about being leanable. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. To
yeah,
lean on someone. You know, there's a famous song that says, "Lean on me
yeah,
when you're not strong."
yeah,
That used to be one of my favorites. It still is one of my favorites, actually.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks to Varaha Prabhu. And I think Jadharani was saying her message was after Lauren. Lauren said the message you read was from Lauren.
Yeah, that's
And
from,
hers was after that.
okay, okay. Well, thank you. What is anyone else with something to share? Harichakra Prabhu, please.
Harichakra Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I thank Mother Vraj for the answer he gave to my question. That, based on the quotation Varaha Prabhu just gave, that Krishna is saying that sometimes we speak, whatever we speak should be pleasing to the ear. Even though we should speak the truth, but it should be pleasing to the ear.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Chakra, we don't hear you.
Use your mic, Prabhu. Use your mic.
Yeah. Well, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is it clear now?
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was saying is that that Bhagavad Gita quote that Varaha Prabhu quoted, that we should speak the truth, but the truth should be pleasing to the ear. Sometimes what we realize is that when you speak very nicely to correct somebody, most of the time it doesn't even take effect. I'll give you an example. The reason why I'm not even now on the Gurudev's Global Forum, because during the COVID time, there was this devotee from England or somewhere, one of the European countries. He was saying so much horrible things about the COVID, and nobody was talking. So I was thinking, why are we allowing this boy to be saying all this? So I started also putting my my own version of the thing to correct him on things that he was saying that I thought was wrong. Now, when I started doing that, we exchanged a little bit, like about 4 times. Yes. And you know what happened? I was kicked out of the forum because I was responding to this devotee. And the reason was, they think every other person was thinking that I'm trying to create tension. Why don't you tell that person to stop what he's posting so that we all can be at peace? They kicked me out. Now they call me. Butta Bhavana called me later on and said, "Oh, Prabhu, I kicked you out because we didn't want the tensions to go up. So now do you want me to put you back on?" I said, "No, don't put me back on." Why? Because if anybody says something like anything like that, I will not keep quiet. I will respond. And that is the reason why I have been kicked out of a lot of forums. And I don't want to go back to those forums because I can't be in a forum that something is going on. And when we have to speak the bare truth about that thing, and people take offense about that. So what do? Do we have to just pamper the person? Say, even though we are speaking the truth, but we should say it in a way that the person is not even taking any cue and he keeps going on and on. Is that what we want to do? Or we just want to point it out, point blank to the person that, look, Prabhu, this is not it. My humble question. I want answer, please.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Harichakra Prabhu.
So I don't know. I'm first time I'm hearing about this, and my first thoughts were, if both of you were communicating back and forth and anyone was to get kicked off, it seems like both of you needed to get kicked off. If you both were back and forth and it was creating some disturbance amongst other devotees, then it seemed like it would have been fair to take you both off in that case, in that situation. Now that's my first thought. And then in terms of whether or not this person, what they were saying and you responding to what they're saying. Well, you know, with the COVID situation, there's always 2 schools of thought, and that continues up to today. So there will always be 2 different perspectives on that situation. I mean, there's always 2 or 3 different perspectives on every situation. And I think if we can communicate in ways to respect each other's perspective and not necessarily make those persons wrong, but just accept that, okay, this is your opinion. I also have an opinion, and that we can respect each other's opinion, because nobody has really proven which of those opinions is right or wrong. Even in science, now they're saying people that got the COVID injections are the ones that are getting COVID now more than ever. Those are the ones that are dying more than ever. So we don't really know. So the thing is just to be able to value each other's opinions and realize it's just opinions. It's nothing to do with who we are, you know? And so why get, again, that goes back to these points. Why get so caught up on whatever somebody's opinion or perspective might be? Why not let it go? I mean, if we can't, if people have choices, we may not be able to change a person's perspective. We can only change our own perspective. And so for us to keep insisting on changing another person's perspective is futile. It'll create misery, because that person has a choice whether they're going to change it or not. And we got to respect their choice, because that's what Krishna has given all of us, is choices. However, I do think if 2 people were creating, you know, I don't want to say disturbance, of maybe just people were not understanding the communication between those 2 persons, then both of those persons, I think, should have been either taken off or at least spoken to. That Prabhu's, you know, your communication back and forth is being misunderstood. Somebody needed to take that responsibility. And that again is only my opinion. Somebody else can have a different opinion than that. So I would have to respect their opinion. So the point I'm making here, why get caught up in all of these different opinions? At the end of the day, it's all temporary stuff that means nothing to my spiritual growth. Does that make any sense, Har Chakra Prabhu?
Oh, it does. It does, Mata. It does perfectly. And like I was saying, you know, if you remember one time when the BP Swami Forum was there, another devotee from somewhere started saying some blasphemous things about Guru Maharaj.
I was going to talk about that.
And I came full force at that devotee, even though that devotee withdrew everything. And but later on, about 6 or 7 months later, this devotee approached me to let me know that whatever I have said, it has put some sense into him, and now he understands where I'm coming from. Yeah, because whatever he was saying was like, well, I don't want to use harsh words. He was saying things about Guru Maharaj that he didn't have to go there at all. You know, sometimes, I don't. Maybe because of my.
I know that experience very well. Only a foolish disciple, stupid disciple will hear such things about his Guru Maharaj and be silent. So don't worry about that. Lots of people do not know about it, and we do not want to talk about it here because it's quite a long story. But anytime any disciple hears his guru being blasphemed and just keeps silent, is doing a very great disservice to himself and to the disciplic succession. Thakur Prabhu, please be on mute.
Prabhu, is not true. There's a punishment the scripture says. He said you should cut off their tongue. He didn't say he's doing the service to himself. He said cut off that person's tongue.
Okay.
Say it as it is. Bhagavad Gita.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Where is Bhagavad Gita? Where is Bhagavad Gita?
Bhagavad Gita as it is. Say it as it is. Bhagavad Gita as it is.
Okay. Thakur Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All those to Srila Prabhupada. Albo Mother VRAJALILA.
Nitaranga, Hari Hari, Thakur in Jamaica.
Yeah, yes, I'm here. So,
Everyone.
yes. Yeah, so I got here late because of the time difference. I remember that it would have been 10 instead of 11.
Yeah.
So I got in some points. The pastime laws are the important, and like the sort of what one say, the example of the tortoise, and one being lineable, and also like the Prabhu's point that austerity in speech and all those things, and also me as we go older, it's not so very easy, especially in the Kali Yuga, to say the right things. In certain instances, they're saying that if one is saying something that is not true about one's guru, then it's should be one's responsibility to say what is the correct thing. And as you said, maybe if there were communication between both, then maybe both could have been communicated too, rather than just one. That's an opinion. So thank you for the questions and the answers, and thanks for the association from so far. But it's really nice. Thanks to Zoom. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thakur, it's so nice to see you. So nice to see you. Beautiful. We get to see you in Jamaica.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so the technology has allowed us to be very far, but we still very near. So, we make use of it. So thanks for the sangha. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Also that point on austerity of speech, that is coming from Krishna to Arjuna. Krishna is helping Arjuna to understand, how to develop a consciousness of how we speak. It's not that we don't speak, and we want to re-emphasize that. It's not that we don't speak. It's how we speak. We speak in such a way that we try our best to connect with the other person. And that's really what will, benefit everyone in the end. And there's a personal story, and I won't go into it very much, but there was someone that was very offensive to our spiritual master. And before he left his body, I asked my spiritual master how to address the situation, what to do in this situation, because he was going to be gone. And he told me, and he told Ekavir together, he said, I want you both to be examples of how I am and how I would want to be with this person. This person is doing the best that they can in relationship to how they understand to serve Srila Prabhupada. My way of how I serve Srila Prabhupada was different. And that's okay. Both of our intentions were to be of service. I want you to be love in action wherever you go, with that person and with that person's disciples. And that was hard instruction, because that person was very offensive, but that was the mood of our spiritual master. Our spiritual master was strong. At the same time, he was very loving and very caring for other people. And he always saw the best and wished everyone well, as you all know. And he always tried to encourage the best out of another person. Ultimately, it's not what we say, it's how we say what we say. That's austerity of speech.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Mother VRAJALILA, Devi. I would like to do this. I would like to put what Srimad Prabhu quoted, and we're all talking about it, back on the screen. This is from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, which is Divisions of Faith, and Prabhuji referenced
Text 15
and 16. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others. This big emphasis, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. So truth must be, activity, austerity of speech consists of when we speak, it should not be agitating to others. Now, let's hear from same, of course, this is Krishna speaking, but let's hear from Srila Prabhupada also speaking. Srila Prabhupada also from same Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, texts 4 and 5. It talks about all these things, intelligence, austerity, and charity, and all these. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says this. Satyam, truthfulness, means that facts should be presented as they are for the benefit of others. Facts should not be misrepresented. According to social conventions, it is said that one can speak the truth only when it is palatable to others. But that is not truthfulness. The truth should be spoken in a straightforward way so that others will understand actually what the facts are. If a man is a thief, and if people are warned that he is a thief, that is truth. Although sometimes the truth is unpalatable, one should not refrain from speaking it. Truthfulness demands that the facts are presented as they are for the benefit of others. That is the definition of truth. So I would like you to please help contrast and compare these two statements we're getting from the same Bhagavad Gita.
Yes, one is spoken by Krishna, one is spoken by Krishna's representative. And Srila Prabhupada, when he's speaking about speaking the truth, we know that he's speaking about letting people know that they're not their bodies, letting people know that they're their souls, communicating what Krishna has given to Arjuna. And to be able to speak that in a way that you can, that you're not holding anything back. You're not like, everything needs to be in context. So Srila Prabhupada was very much not supportive of people in India that would present, as we were speaking about earlier, Bhagavatam in a way that was not absolutely the way Bhagavatam may have been written. Maybe they were presenting it from an impersonal point of view. And we know that Srila Prabhupada's whole purpose on this planet was to emphasize that impersonalism is not going to help anyone to really go to Goloka Vrindavan. So all of Srila Prabhupada's purports are generally referring to helping people to not become Mayavadis and to not become impersonalists. And in that way, yes, the devotee understands that it's not that you present Krishna consciousness minimizing the absolute truth of Krishna. We never do that. We never compromise like that. We never compromise who Krishna is. We never compromise Krishna's place of living, his abode, his activities. So that's in that context. When Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, it's a different context. So we need to take things in proper context.
Well, Hare Krishna.
Okay, if somebody else has something to add to that.
Please give me unmute.
Hare Krishna, I'm driving, so please forgive the noise. There's noise in the background.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm audible.
You are.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So your point is, yeah, that's the Prabhupada's purpose. Very good. To remind us that we should be brahmanas, we should protect, we should not show the truth, we should not show the conscience of people. That is the work of Brahmins. Now, his purpose, the Prabhupada's purpose is 1715. he actually mentioned there that the category of people who can speak anyhow, those are the teachers. If you are the guru, if a guru, he said a guru can speak to his dependents. A guru, a father can speak to his dependents, freely or actually or anyhow. But if the person is not under you, if it's not your subordinate, and you don't have the right of a guru or a father to that person, then the three ways the Vaishnavas relate should be applied. If it's your inferior subordinate, you encourage the person in a palatable way. Of course, if you're a guru, you can speak harshly to correct. Then, of course, if you look at this person is your equal or contemporary, then you have to speak to him the way you speak to a friend that you don't want to offend. Of course, when we say a friend, you always mind when you're talking to a friend. In a very friendly manner, no matter what is happening. And then, of course, if it's a superior, then what Mother Raja said, we should have a straw in our mouth. So even though Srila Prabhupada gave that comment, but it's not applicable to everyone. Some of these scriptural references or commentaries, in most cases, they cannot be applied generally. You have to understand how to apply them. So I hope that makes some sense. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shumagara Prabhu.
Thank you, Saha, for thank you, Varaha, and thank you, Saha, for pulling up that quote. It's always wonderful to have discussions and clarifications and exchanges because, Srila Prabhupada has said so many different things in different ways, and each of us connect with it in a different way sometimes. So it's nice that we can have these kinds of conversations, these kinds of discussions. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Hare Krishna, thank you too. Kavikanapur Prabhu, I saw your hand up. Are you okay? Do you have something to share?
Yes, I'm okay. I'm very happy the way Shima Vara concluded it. That was what was in my mind. Okay. Because we have to be strict on ourselves and be easy with others. And I think that is the way of cultivating purity. Although if we have to say the truth, yes, we have to say the truth, but we have to say it in a way that the person also, when the person is hearing the truth, he can feel love and compassion, like Mother was emphasizing. So that is most important of the message I'm taking home, that when we are speaking the truth, we should say it in a way that the person can feel love and compassion from our truth, that the person will be ready to take the truth. If the person is trying to counter whatever we are saying, and there's this argument and counter argument, then it means that even though it's true, the person is not taking it. And what is the use of your truth if it's not beneficial? Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Kavikanapur Prabhu. Anyone else with something?
Very simple. I just want to share very simply, okay, connection before education. Connection before education. If we can remember that, we might be able to connect. We might be able to say something that can at least let us connect with the person before we start educating them about whatever, which usually turns out to be our opinions, which has no real value.
Hare Krishna. Personally, I take every thing everybody is saying because nobody would want to just talk to people and push the truth in their throats. That doesn't work. But it is also equally a fact that anytime anybody is speaking the truth, no matter how you say it, you're going to offend somebody. Srila Prabhupada was seen to be offending to the impersonalists because he was always on their case. And he was speaking the truth. And the impersonalists never liked it. So, like Kavikanapur Prabhu was also saying, it is important that whoever is even bringing out the truth, you say it in such a way that it's not going to hurt the other person. But if the other person takes it as hurtful, what else can you do? Because there are some people, no matter how you speak the truth, they're going to feel hurt simply because you spoke the truth. So that also we should put in mind. We should have that in mind and not become overly disturbed by what other people's feelings may be. Because if we do that, then we will not be able to preach. Anytime we go out preaching, we're hurting other people's feelings. We're hurting other people's feelings. I used to hear my Guru Dev, Brahmananda, and other devotees say, why do you make your bodies a mobile cemetery? You know, if you say this to a meat eater, the meat eater is going to feel offended. But we have people who speak like this. Of course, as preachers, we have to be careful under what circumstance we can repeat what other acharyas have said. But it is also an undeniable fact that no matter how one speaks the truth, somebody is going to feel offended. And that should not stop us from speaking the truth. Because if we do, then preaching stops. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Sade Prabhu. Mother, sorry. Hare Krishna Sade Prabhu.
Krishna.
Who is saying the truth that you are defending now? Let the class go.
But there are also many truths Prabhupada was saying that was offending to many people, like the black community, like women. Prabhupada was also offending many people.
That's what I'm saying.
The atheists.
That's what I'm saying. All right. I think.
So I want to close this class with a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam from the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada explains, Srila Vyasadeva is the great authority and the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam being so important. He delivered the message first to his great son, Srila Shukadeva Goswami. It is compared to the cream of the milk. Vedic literature is like the milk ocean of knowledge. Cream or butter is the most palatable essence of milk. And so is Srimad Bhagavatam, for it contains all palatable, instructive, and authentic versions of different activities of the Lord and his devotees. So this pastime that we read today of Kurma, the tortoise, is a palatable, instructive, and authentic version of one of the activities of the Lord and how the Lord protects his devotees, protects the demigods. And so if you get a chance, those of you that haven't read the pastime, it's in the 8th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapters 4 and 5. That is my conclusion of this class today. Thank you so very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mother Raj. And on this note, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express.
Hare Krishna!
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Kapatar Vyasta, Kapasan Vyavacha, Tanam Bhavana Bhivyo, Vashna Bhivyo, Namo Namaha. Hare Hare Bo.